In this video, we will solve two-step equations using inverse operations. The steps to solve: first we're going to locate the variable, and we're going to separate the sides of the equation through the equal sign. That way we can keep track of what's on the left and what's on the right of the equal sign. Then we have to figure out what's bothering x, or our variable. Identify the operations that are happening. Then we have to use inverse operations to undo. Remember, inverse operations means the opposite operations. In order to do this with multiple operations in the same equation, we're actually going to do order of operations backwards. So GEMDOS is our order of operations when we're working a problem, but if we're trying to undo those, we have to go backwards. So GEMDOS backwards is SADMEG. We're going to be using SADMEG to undo those operations. Then we're going to check our work. All right, so in our first example, we have 9a minus 2 equals negative 65. The variable is on this side. Here's my equal sign. I'm going to draw that line to keep track of what's on the left and what's on the right. So what's bothering x? Well, I've got minus 2 and I've got multiplication by 9. So I'm going to use SADMEG to undo those operations. That means that I need to undo addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides to get rid of the subtraction. That's going to leave me with 9a equals negative 63. Now I see that I have multiplication to get rid of, so I can divide by 9. When I do that, I'm going to be left with a equals negative 7. Then I can take that negative 7 and check my work to make sure that it's right. So I take that negative 7 and plug it back in for a to make sure that this is the solution to the equation. So 9 times negative 7 is negative 63 minus 2 gives me negative 65. Because both sides are equal, I know that's my answer. Here we have negative 4x plus 7 equals 31. Draw that line through the equal sign. I need to use SADMEG to undo the multiplication and addition. So I'm going to undo the addition first by subtracting 7 from both sides. That's going to leave me with negative 4x equals 24 because I'm subtracting 7 from both sides. Now I need to get rid of the multiplication. So divide by negative 4 on both sides so that x is negative 6. I'm going to plug the negative 6 back in to make sure that it's my answer. So negative 4 times negative 6 plus 7 should be equal to 31. And it is, so we know we did it right. Here, I have k divided by 3 minus 11 equals negative 5. Separate that equation for my left and right side through the equal sign. I know I need to get rid of the 11 first by adding 11 to both sides. That's going to leave me with k divided by 3 on the left, and negative 5 plus 11 is positive 6. Now notice I need to get rid of division. The inverse operation of division is multiplication. So I multiply by 3 on both sides, and that leaves me with k on the left, and 6 times 3 gives me 18. To check my work, 18 goes in place for k, so 18 over 3 minus 11 should equal negative 5. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. 6 minus 11 is negative 5. Next we have 8 equals 23 minus 5w. Drawing that line, what's bugging w? I have 23 minus 5w. I need to get rid of the 23 first because it's being added to the 5w. So subtract 23 from both sides. That leaves me with negative 15 equals negative 5w. Notice how I brought down that negative. Now I can divide by negative 5, and that leaves me with w equals positive 3. When I plug in positive 3, I get 8 is equal to 23 minus 5 times 3, which gives me 8 is equal to 23 minus 15, and 23 minus 15 is 8. All right, the next few examples. Okay, I'm going to draw that line through that equal sign. What's bothering m? I'm subtracting 11 and multiplying by 8. Using SADMEG, I'm going to get rid of the 11 first, where I have 8m equals 0. Now I divide by 8 on both sides. 0 divided by 8 is 0. Next, I have negative 6 is equal to 1 plus n divided by negative 4. Using SADMEG, I'm going to get rid of the 1 first. Negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7 over n divided by negative 4. So I can get rid of that division by multiplying by negative 4. That gives me a positive 28 is equal to n. So n is equal to 28 is my answer. Here I have 19 minus x equals 30. I'm going to have a negative 1 that's being multiplied by x, and I'm adding 19. I need to get rid of the 19 first because that's being added. That leaves me with negative x equals 11. But I need to get rid of that negative 1. My answer can't be negative x equals something. I want to know what x is. So I've got to divide by negative 1. So when I divide by negative 1 on both sides, I get my positive x, but now the sign changes on the 11, because 11 divided by negative 1 is negative 11. Here I have negative 17 plus r divided by 2 equals negative 25. So put that bar through my equal sign. I need to get rid of the 17 first. So I need to add 17 to undo the negative 17. That leaves me with r over 2 equals negative 25 plus 17 is negative 8. Now I have to undo division by multiplying by 2 on both sides. Writing down all of these steps are going to help you keep track of your thinking as you go through these problems. That's going to leave me with r equals negative 16. Next, we're going to deal with some problems that have some decimals or fractions in them. The process here isn't going to change at all. We're going to split at the equal sign just like we did before and locate our variable. We see we're adding 9 and multiplying by 0.4. So using SADMEG, I'm going to subtract the 9 first because that's our addition and subtraction step. That's going to leave me with 0.4x equals 2. I still need to figure out what's bugging x, so I divide by the 0.4 because it's being multiplied. Now I'm left with x equals 50. Right here, I have negative 18 equals negative 10 minus 1.5 m. I split. Using SADMEG, I'm going to add 10 first. That leaves me with negative 1.5 m over here and negative 8 over here. When I divide by negative 1.5, you're not going to get a nice number here. When you divide this in the calculator, you're actually going to get m is equal to 5.3 repeating. And so you can just write it this way, or you can round and say it's 5.3. Next, I'm going to split. I see I'm dividing and adding, so I need to undo the addition and subtraction first. So subtract 14. That leaves us with v divided by negative 0.8 equals 25. To get rid of the division, I need to multiply. So when I multiply by 0.8 on both sides, I get negative 20. Here when I split, I see I have 2/3 that I'm multiplying by, and I'm subtracting 7. Get rid of the 7 first. and I'm left with 2/3 x equals 12. To get rid of this fraction, it's really being multiplied by x, so I need to divide by 2/3. But remember, when I divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. That means those are going to reduce away, and I'm just going to be left with x. And I have 12 times 3/2, which is 18. All right, our next example here, I once again have that fraction I'm going to have to get rid of, and this 9. I get rid of the 9 first because I deal with addition and subtraction first. That leaves me with -5/8 c equals -10. To get rid of the multiplication and division, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of that fraction. Notice I also multiplied by a negative because this was negative. I needed my c to be positive. When I multiply -10 times -8/5, I get 16. Here I have a 16 that I need to add to both sides. That leaves me with 1/3 m equals 15. To get rid of the 1/3, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal means the flip of that fraction. And that leaves me with m equals 45 because I multiplied by that 3 on both sides. All right, these last 4 examples. Notice here what's happening. I have x minus 1 all divided by 6 equal to 2. Yes, I'm going by SADMEG, but that top part here is a group. So before I get to that g at the end, I have to go through all of this. I can't do the addition and subtraction first because it's within that group. So I have to actually multiply by the 6 first to get rid of it. So what's left after I multiply by the 6? Well, multiplying by 6 gets rid of that 6, so I'm just left with the x minus 1. 2 times 6 gives me 12, and now all I have to do is add 1 to both sides, so x is 13. Imagine if we plugged that back in. 13 minus 1 is 12. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So here, I need to multiply by -2 first. Now what's that going to leave me with? It's going to leave me with -18 equals m plus 17. Then I can subtract that 17. So that leaves me with m equals -35. So here, what do I need to get rid of? Well, I need to multiply both sides by 16. So that's going to give me -48 equals k minus 5. Now the -5 is what's bothering x, so I need to add 5 to both sides. So then I'm left with k equals -43. Here, I'm going to multiply by 7 on both sides. That's going to leave me with -28 on the right and just p plus 20 on the left. Then I need to get rid of the 20 by subtracting it. So that leaves me with p equals -48. Follow those steps each time. Locate that variable, identify what's bothering x, and then undo with SADMEG.